and the Middle East. And the Washington Post, it's a story the media are absolutely obsessed with over here. The Post reports on the latest developments for a new White House ballroom. It's going to cost around $200 million. President Trump's paying for it alongside donors. But unfortunately, some on the left are absolutely losing their marbles about it. gbnews.com/your say. Let me know your thoughts on that. Joining me now is the editor-at-large of The Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths. Charlotte, thank you for your company. Should we start with your esteemed newspaper, or should we not? What do you want to start with?
Yeah, well, the Mail on Sunday's front page is this ridiculous class war that rumbles on because Rachel Reeves is coming after us for even more tax. If you have a £2 million property, she's going to tax. And it's going to cost up to £10,000 every year if you have a £3 million property. And it's just more politics of envy. Another week, another sort of threatened budget hike. Depressing stuff, really.
So I'm just reading the front page now. Under her proposals, the owners of properties worth £2 million and above would face a charge of 1% of the amounts by which the property exceeds that value, meaning that owners of a £3 million property, as you said, would face a bit of 10 grand every year. I mean, so many questions about this. First of all, according to what value? Is it going to be the local estate agent's opinion? Is it up to you to declare, like on the self-assessment, the value of your property? Or is it going to be according to the valuation office? I think the guys that do the council tax. And also, I mean, Charlotte, some people will be listening to this now thinking, well, so what? If you've got a house worth £2 million, you've definitely got some cash behind you. Is that a decent enough argument? These are rich people anyway, no?
Well, there's a little bit of a nuance to this because, in a funny way, 2 million isn't quite enough because obviously property values are out of control. So, for example, this is just a little example of my mother. So I'm always teasing my mum because she bought a house in 1982 and it for sort of £40,000 or something with my dad. And amazingly, a house on the same street as her, a few doors up, went for £1.8 million the other day. And my mum hasn't got two pennies to rub together, but she's clinged onto that house like a classic boomer her whole lifetime.
Yeah.
If she was slapped with a, £5,000-10,000 bill, she literally just wouldn't be able to pay it. So there is a bit of nuance because the property market has gone so bananas. Actually, if you have a £2 million property, you're not necessarily loaded. In fact, you could have a very big mortgage. You could be working your absolute socks off and you've managed to borrow five times against your salary. But you're aspirational and you want this for your children, this property. 2 million, given what the property market is, just a bit too low. I totally get taxing the oligarchs, taxing those international property owners who leave their houses empty. But those houses are 10, 15, 20 million pound brackets. So I think this is a tax on the aspirational because it's actually bizarrely, because of property market prices, actually sort of achievable to get a £2 million house if you work your socks off for your whole lifetime.
Yeah, and also I think it's an attack on pensioners because, as you've said, Charlotte, people like your mum who bought a big house back in the day, they worked hard. Properties, of course, have exploded in value. And for the most part, I'd argue lots of pensioners now, they're living in their houses by themselves. Their kids have flown the nest and they're still in their homes because the argument is we heard it during the winter fuel row, taking away the winter fuel allowance for pensioners. People like Benjamin Butterworth would say, well, they're millionaires, they're living in a massive house with loads of equity, just downsize and move out. Well, first of all, they're human beings and they're elderly human beings. I'm not saying, that they're totally vulnerable and inane, but you've lived in a house that you've worked hard for decades and decades and decades. You've brought your children up in that house from pregnancy to adulthood. These properties mean a lot of, very high, they're sentimental to people. Yeah. You don't just want to get up and go and live in some flat somewhere and just leave your whole life behind. I think it's an attack on pensioners. I think it's an attack on the aspirational, as you've said. And I don't see how even the Labour voters will agree with it. I don't think it will fly.
I totally agree with what you said about these being human beings. I always think Rachel Reeves forgets this. She forgot that about the private school tax rate as well. That, sometimes these private schools are actually county prep schools. There might be only one in an entire county, and they're not for millionaire kids. They're for, they cost several £1,000s a term, but not in this sort of London bracket of £10,000 a term. And they're actually the heart of the community. And, with my mum, it's a classic example. She always says, I'm going to go to my grave in this house. You'll have to carry me out in my coffin. And the reason things that she's had, and it does mean a lot to her that my childhood bedroom's there, and I'm 40 now. So, but these people are human beings, and there's a lot of people out there, especially Brits, and it's a very human nature thing to be very proud of your property. And there's a lot of pensioners out there who actually really don't want to move out, and they would actually find it difficult. They would even, it would even affect them. They might, go on a decline.
It's one of the most stressful. It's one of the most stressful things, moving house, having to deal with the actual move physically, the solicitors and so on. It's a hard task for anybody, but let alone an elderly pensioner. And also, just because the grubby Labour government says that they're going to tax you more and forcing people out of their homes, I think it's disgusting. I'm going to bring my DC panel in now, who've got some thoughts on this. Hilary Fordwich and Angelina Mackay. Hilary, what's your take on this proposed tax from Rachel Reeves?
Well, first of all, they say the more you tax of anything, the less you get of anything. So the difference of the UK and the US is in the US, high-tech tax states have people fleeing from them. For example, good example, New York State. Florida's absolutely boomed with all the New Yorkers that have moved down there. And you look at every single red state is growing. The blue states, the Democratic states, with the high-tax states, they're all leaving. Actually, a good example is Vermont and New Democratic, and New Hampshire being more Republican. People move from Vermont
but Hilary,
to New Hampshire.
So they escape the blue states because it's a hellhole, and they go and ruin the red states. They bring their stupid politics
their
with
politics with them. That's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Do you know that moving vans, you literally cannot get a moving van in California because they all go to Texas and they don't go back. But what I was going to say is the difference in the UK is, what are you going to do? Every 45 minutes, a millionaire leaves the UK. They go somewhere else. So this is what they're doing. They're driving away people of affluence. And I must say that I feel for the lady on set with her mother, because people don't want to leave their homes that they've been in their whole life. That's the last thing. For them, that's absolutely dreadful. But that's what these policies do.
Angelina, very quickly, sorry to oust you on this one, but your thoughts, is having a £2 million home, does it make you rich? Should you be paying 1% on that in tax?
I definitely don't think we should be increasing the prices. The prices of properties have skyrocketed in America and across the world. A $2 million home now may be a middle-class family home.
Yeah.
So I think increasing the tax on that is not appropriate.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Charlotte, we'll catch up in the next hour, hopefully. Thanks for your contributions. gbnews.com/your say. Let us know what you think about that. Still ahead on The Late Show Live.
Not war, not war, not war. Just peace, just peace, just peace. Forever, forever, forever. Peace forever.
Dictator Nicolas Maduro there. The US is sending its largest aircraft carrier to South America amid anti-drug operations. But Maduro says Washington is inventing a war. Are we about to see a massive ground invasion of Venezuela? Also on the show tonight, former US President Kamala Harris hints she could run for president again in 2028. No, it's not April Fool's. It's nearly Halloween. It's a nightmare on Elm Street, really, if that is the case for the Democrats. This is The Late Show Live, only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. gbnews.com/